Sometimes a particular exercise might seemingly work magic for someone else, but it might not work for you. An influencer can tell you that that particular exercise has helped him or her improve their English within a month. But you have to know many things are left behind the scenes. Many things are left unsaid. As much as I want to believe that these influencers genuinely want to help you, sometimes it's hard not to suspect that certain facts have been fictionalized or things have been fabricated in order to make their stories more appealing. So in order to tell the facts from fictions, we really need to go back to the very basic principles of English learning. It will free us from all the headaches and frustrations that we have in not knowing or feeling like we don't know the correct way to practice our English. Because once you know what these principles are, you really don't have to worry about the specific exercises or practices that you could do on a day-to-day basis. You will know that to get to your destination, there are more than one way and there are more than one kind of resource that you can use to help you along the way. The first principle is there is no single practice that is better than everything else. Whether or not you choose this particular practice to do and how you choose to do it are really personal. It depends on where your language skills are at, what your goals are in the next few months, and why you're learning English in general. What is your intention with this foreign language? Are you going to study abroad? Are you going to use it at work? And it also has a lot to do with what prior language experience you had, where you learned your English before, what have you done to this point to improve your language skills. And I think it has a lot to do with our personalities as well. For example, I'm never a big fan of English corners. We had them a lot when I was at university, but I really had to force myself to go. I'm just not someone who's very comfortable chatting away with strangers at a very crowded and loud public spot. That's just not my thing. I would prefer, in an ideal world, to have someone to practice my English with in a quiet, relaxing environment. Maybe we're having a cup of coffee at the same time as well. That would be ideal. But then again, it's not an ideal world. That doesn't happen for everyone. So instead, I chose to practice English by myself. So my point is, you don't necessarily have to do one exercise to get good. There are so many different ways that you can take to achieve your goal. The second principle is the way you practice your language will determine the kind of progress you will make and how much progress you are able to make. For example, this is an old topic on my channel, but a lot of people think that learning English equals learning new words. So anytime when they feel the need to improve their English or they feel insecure about their language skills, they pick up their vocabulary book, and that's what they do. They'll set up a plan to remember, for example, 20 words every day. And then eventually by the end of the month, their vocabulary will grow significantly. Now, it doesn't really work that way. As I've mentioned in my previous videos, the way your language goes in you, it's also the way it will come out. So if you're only learning the foreign language by the smallest unit, that is word by word, that's how you will use them as well. It will still be as challenging for you to put together a sentence by the end of that month, and you still did not improve your grammar at all, let alone your pronunciation and so many other aspects of your spoken English. Another common way for us to practice our English, or more specifically spoken English, is that we do a lot of listening, but we rarely speak. If that's how you have chosen your practice, your listening will probably improve greatly over a certain period of time, but not so much your spoken English, because the focus of your practice was mostly on the language input. So your listening skills will improve, your comprehension skills will probably improve. You may have a better idea of how the native speech flows, but you're still pretty much where you were with your spoken English, until you decide to finally open your mouth and deliver what you have learned and accumulated at this point. Or the other extreme of things could be you're not doing nearly enough listening. You're mostly learning English through reading. And that's quite common because that's how most of us learned English when we were in high school. I'm not saying that that wasn't great. It certainly has its benefits. But if your goal is to improve your spoken English, the very first thing you need to do is to familiarize yourself with the way the language sounds. It might be hard for you to sound natural because you don't have enough input of the spoken English to know the manner, the tone, and something as simple as where to pause when you speak. Another common practice that I've seen a lot of people do and are really expecting magical results through their practice is shadowing. I know a lot of us have seen videos where people would imitate a native speaker, maybe in a movie or TV show, and did it perfectly. It was very entertaining for sure. But does that mean that being able to do that equals having a great spoken English? Obviously not. As much as I would like to believe that improving your spoken English is really that simple, a good spoken English is so much more than that. I don't even think that shadowing is enough for us to improve our pronunciation to start with. So my opinion towards this practice is that I think it could be very problematic depending on your current language skill, because there's so many questions you need to figure out. Do you understand what you're repeating? Why are you repeating these specific sentences? Are you trying to improve your pronunciation through this practice? Are you imitating the intonation of the speaker? Is this something that you would also say in your daily life? The point is, a lot of us would start this exercise and spend hours and hours on it, not really knowing where we're going with this, not really knowing what we're trying to get out of this. So for these people, I would say take a step back before you put more hours in. Really think about what your goal is. If you're trying to improve some of the sounds that you weren't able to pronounce correctly, maybe shadowing isn't the best option, because this task might be a bit more challenging for you. What you should do instead is focus on individual sounds first. Once you've learned all the techniques, and then you can start doing other things. That will probably bring you much more benefits within a shorter amount of time, believe it or not, than shadowing native speakers in movies or TV shows. For most of us, it's not the matter of finding the perfect practice, but more so actually putting in the time. And sometimes we might even think that before we find that magic perfect practice, we should just wait and look around. But in that process, we will waste so much time doing nothing. Once again, there's no magic pill. What matters the most is that we keep on improving. Or in other words, as long as we're doing something that will help us improve, it's just a matter of time before we can be that person that we've always wanted to be. Progress never comes overnight. It comes slowly and accumulates over time. And the catalyst is your practice.